friends, Donica Hudson here from the beautiful snowy Blue Ridge Mountains. I wanted to talk to you tonight about the March for Life that both Jim Quick and I covered for NC Conservatives and for the Evangelical Association, for the NC Values Coalition, and several others in North Carolina. We were boots on the ground for you, and it was a wonderful experience. As you can tell by a lot of the narrative of the march, while we were filming, we talked about how much love was poured out there. I was very encouraged by the amount of young people, both high school and colleges, entire busloads of them that came out to support life. And everything that I witnessed was a peaceful, loving group of marchers that love life. So when I've read some of the narratives and some of the nasty remarks about those who are pro-life and saying that they are hateful people, that is totally a lie. And if you don't believe me, look at the footage. We've posted a lot of it. We did a lot of interviews too while we were there. Just look at those videos just to get an idea of how much these people were peaceful and love life. Marjorie Dannenfelser, who is president of the Susan B. Anthony list, sent out a really good email yesterday, and I wanted to read part of it to you. She said, as expected, the mainstream media attacked the pro-life champions who showed up for our March for Life this past weekend, and that was in Washington, D.C. I'll tell you why they attacked us, she says, because they're afraid that our movement is getting stronger. And it was a record crowd, by the way. They fear that Americans are waking up to the truth about abortion. The abortion lobby knows that it can only win when they keep Americans in the dark. That's why they'll never tell you that the plaintiff in Roe v. Wade ultimately saw the light and dedicated her life to overturning that wicked Supreme Court decision. And if that Jane Roe can have a change of heart, then so can America. Now that's encouraging to me because, as several of you know, I used to have a TV show in Charlotte, Charlotte Alive, and I actually interviewed the pastor that baptized Jane Roe, Flip Benham. And this was a wonderful thing. I saw beautiful pictures of the baptism. They're probably still on the web if you want to Google it. But, you know, what I want to point out here is that God is in the business of changing hearts to bring us to a life of love and peace. And so the March for Life truly was a wonderful outpouring of love for life, and that's why I'm absolutely appalled at Charlotte Mayor Pro Tem Julie Eiselt's remarks on Facebook, calling the hundreds of thousands of people at the March for Life a hateful pro-life group that just blew their cover. Really? I was there covering the march. It was an outpouring of love during the entire march. I was there from beginning to end, only love. Just look at the hours of footage posted on this Facebook page. There was no hate, only love for life. So why would Mayor Pro Tem Eiselt and the media at large be so quick to jump the gun and broadcast lies and refuse to apologize for that matter? You know, they took an issue of a group that was part of the pro-life march that had gone to visit the Lincoln Memorial after the march and jumped to a lot of conclusions. You've probably seen the video on the web that totally hijacked the purpose of the march, but it was a false video. In other words, people jumped to the wrong conclusion and did not present all of the video showing that the Native American man actually approached the students at Covington High School, and Nick Sandmann, who stood his ground and continued to peacefully smile. And the vitriol and the hate that spewed forth was unbelievable. And then this remark comes from one of our own North Carolina city leaders that is just wrong. So watch this video to find out why this keeps happening.
If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
Well, That was none other than our own Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. It's eye-opening, isn't it? Really? The wrap-up smear, huh? Well, to be fair, because I am a journalist with integrity, I'm not taking this video out of context. She was answering a reporter's questions about tactics that are used. So this is not about Republican or Democrat. This is about lying. So did you get what she said? First, they demonize a person. Demonize, really? Demonize a person by telling lies about that person. Then the press reports the lies as if they were true. Then everyone uses the press reports as validation that the liar is telling the truth. How diabolical. How evil and wicked. Well, those of us who are Christians have got to wise up. Now, I'm not talking about Democrats or Republicans. I'm talking about politicians, leaders, the media, you and me who have smartphones, being okay with lying. Are you okay with lying? I'm personally not. The American people deserve to hear the truth. This is exactly what happened to Nick Sandmann and the Covington Catholic High School. A bunch of random smartphone posts to social media fit the narrative that the liberal media wants to push to a T. That narrative is that anyone wearing a MAGA hat, especially white males and Christians, are racist, bigoted, and full of hate. Therefore, without verifying anything, the mainstream media, unfortunately, along with thousands on social media, even the Covington Catholics on diocese, were quick to believe the lie. Further evidence of the entire video proved that Nick Sandmann and Covington High School was in no way mocking this Native American man. In fact, the Native American man, who is a known activist, approached Nick Sandmann. So, even the rhetoric that I'm hearing on interviews on the mainstream media asking Nick Sandmann if he should apologize, to me it's a ludicrous question. My question is, shouldn't Nathan Phillips, the Native American who approached Nick and got in his face and beat the drum, shouldn't he apologize? This is a 16-year-old. I have a 16-year-old child. As a mom, if someone did that to my child and she just stood there peacefully and smiled, I would applaud her. It took great control to do that. And he did absolutely nothing wrong. So this whole narrative about, well, he must have really done something wrong, we're going to continue to ask these questions, is also misleading. My job is not to school you. If you're a politician or a journalist who lies, my job is to present truth in media and government. We, the people, want the truth. Now, as Christ followers, we must learn from this. We need to verify before we come out with an accusation. All of us these days have smartphones. So please be responsible with them. There are very few journalists these days in the mainstream media with journalistic integrity. Only a handful came back and apologized for perpetrating the lie against Nick Sandmann and the Covington Catholic High School. And I'm thankful for the ones that did, but honestly, lies are lies, and journalists should not succumb to them. If you have, you've sold yourself out. You're no longer a journalist, you're a propaganda arm. Jim Quick and I endeavored to do this, tell the truth, with every broadcast here on NC Conservatives. Yes, we are conservative, and that's because we hold a biblical worldview, and that happens to align with conservatism. I'll say at any point, if we had to choose between the two, we're Christ followers, okay? But right now, the conservative platform lines up with our biblical values, as it did with everyone at the pro-life march. My faith warns me strictly to not look nor act like my enemy, who is called the father of lies, but rather to look like the truth, who gave his life so that I will have life eternally. I pray that this impacts you, that anyone watching, that you will continue to stand for truth, and that you will in no way accept the lie or go along with the culture that seems to be endorsing lies these days. Thank you for listening. I'm Donica Hudson for NC Conservatives. Good night.